Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scout Selections here for Wednesday, June 5th. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday, and we picked up a very nice and easy win for once on the over between the Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles, as we ended up cashing that one by the fourth inning, and we took the over 10.5 there at minus 105 for good value, but instead totaled for 23 runs, so they ended up multiplying it 2, and you still won. But a very thrilling game, 12-11. The Orioles bullpen tried to choke it away late, but they held on for a 12-11 win. But overall, that's definitely a good way to start the week, so to speak, especially after we ended up losing with the Bruins the day before. But with that being said, we're going to dive right into another baseball play of the day, and then I'll go into my leans for the rest of the card. The play of the day will be on the Philadelphia Phillies money line at minus 110, available at Pinnacle, against the San Diego Padres, and that game is supposed to have first pitch in roughly an hour and 40 minutes. And the main reason why we like the Phillies is because we think that they're the better overall team, and we think that they definitely have a pitching advantage on the mound today, as it will be Jake Arrieta, longtime starter, future Hall of Famer, versus Cal Quantrill, who has been underwhelming to say the least in his very short MLB career. Quantrill so far this season is 1-2 with a 5.14 ERA. Whereas Arrieta has not been great this year as opposed to his usual, dominance, but he still is 5-5 with a 3.96 ERA. And Arrieta, even though he did pick up a loss in his last start, he's actually done pretty well against the Padres historically. And the people who have owned him on the Padres in the past, like Austin Hedges, as well as even Travis Jankowski, is batting .333 against them, they're both not playing. The Padres decided to use a bunch of younger lefties to try to combat Arrieta, which I'm kind of questioning because it takes away from the actual strength of their lineup. And they also decided to bench some people who have good numbers against Arrieta just historically. So overall, I think that's a bold move by the Padres, where meanwhile, nobody on the Phillies has faced Quantrill. But Quantrill's had some issues so far with his control and his command, and I simply think that the Phillies are the right side, especially after what happened yesterday. Phillies ended up pulling out a very nice 9-6 win to end their 5-game losing streak. I mean, they played the Dodgers for 3 of them, so I can't really blame them for that. But overall, the Phillies were trailing early in that game. They were down 2-1, and then the floodgates opened up with 4 runs in the 5th. They ended up winning 9-6, and I feel like this line is just too low. How's it going, Paul? Thanks for joining us. I just think Arrieta here, Phillies are definitely the better team. Padres have lost. They've been on a pretty poor run. I mean, I know the Marlins are starting to heat up after their performance yesterday, but they have lost 3 of 4, and they did lose to the Marlins 2 out of the last 3 that they played. So overall, I don't really like the way the Padres are currently playing. Phillies, they did get swept by the Dodgers, but I'll give them a pass because the Dodgers at home are almost unbeatable, and they did pick up a nice win here in this one. Phillies are the better team. I think that part of the reason why this line could be a little bit low is the season-ending injury to Andrew McCutchen as he tore his ACL, and he is officially out for the year. But he was only batting about .250, and I haven't really been that thrilled with his play this season before the injury. And the Phillies got an injection of life with Jay Bruce, who came over via trade a couple of days ago, and he was fantastic yesterday as he ended up hitting 2 home runs. He had a double. He had 6 runs batted in, and I believe he also had a grand slam. So he definitely came in, and he's been looking to make a difference with this new team. He's in the lineup tonight. I think he'll play well, and I think that the Phillies should be able to play well. They got Hernandez, Harper, Segura, Hoskins, Realmuto, Bruce, Kingery, Hoselli. Hoselli's new, but he's one of the top prospects of the organization. He went 0 for 4 yesterday, but as a center fielder, he's definitely supposed to be this next up-and-coming prospect, so I definitely like his injection into the lineup as well. Then you have Arrieta at the 9. And then for the Padres, you have Greg Garcia, you have Reyes, Machado, Hosmer, Naylor, Myers, France, Allen, and Quantrill. Simply put, this Padres lineup is not as strong as it usually is due to the subbing in of lefties to face Arrieta, and I simply just think the Phillies are the better team. The only thing that I'm concerned about with the play of the day is the Phillies bullpen. But in terms of statistically, I believe the Phillies are 17th in ERA and the Padres are 16th. They're 1 away from each other, so both the bullpens are relatively even. But I think there's a huge starting pitching advantage, and at minus 110, I think there's too much value there to pass up on. So the play of the day will be on the Philadelphia Phillies money line at -110 at Pinnacle. Now, with that being said, time to dive into the rest of the games today. Now, the game everyone wants to talk about is the basketball game, of course, between the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors as we head back to the Oracle Arena for Game 3. Warriors were originally -5.5, down to -4.5. A lot of that's injury-based with the questionable status of Klay Thompson, who got injured towards the end of Game 2. Missed the last couple of minutes, but if you've listened to press conferences and you've seen him interact after the game with his teammates, it looks like he's going to play. And it seems like he was moving around pretty well. Of course, he was walking around in a suit and everything like that, but he didn't need a boot or anything. He didn't need any type of medical assistance. So I think he will be fine. He should play in this game. And the question is, even if he does play, how effective will he be? I know that Toronto ended up switching to a box and one late in that game, and it gave Golden State some fits, but that's also completely dependent on whether or not Klay Thompson is playing or not, because you can't do a box and one when you have two elite three-point shooters instead of just one, with Thompson and Curry both on the floor. But at 4.5 here, I'm going to lean to Golden State in this game. I think Thompson will play. I think he'll play pretty well. Plus, I'm sure they'll give him a bunch of medication before the game actually starts. But in terms of this game, I'll have to lean to the under 214, which is available at Bovada, and I'd have to lean to the under in the first half as well. I think Toronto will come out focused defensively. Golden State definitely struggled defensively in the first half of Game 2, but they picked it up defensively in the second half. I think that'll carry over. I think Golden State figured something out on how to stop Toronto, and I definitely do not trust anybody besides probably Siakam and Lowry to beat Golden State. I think that as a whole, Lowry has been relatively useless. He's been very good defensively trying to draw charges, but we ended up cashing a play the day with him in Game 2 on the under in his point props, and we won that one. I think Lowry have another pretty poor offensive game, as Golden State seems to be content with letting him try to beat them. Plus, he's still going to try to draw charges. He should get into foul trouble. In terms of props here, I lean to everything over related to DeMarcus Cousins because of the fact that Kevin Looney is officially out for the rest of the series with a fracture, so he will not play. So I expect Cousins to play 30 minutes or so. I think that Damon Jones will play some more minutes, and Jerebko will also get more minutes to try to help balance it out. But Cousins was fantastic in Game 2. I expect him to continue to play a decent amount. So I lean to the over in rebounds for him, over in points, over assists. I think Cousins will have a great game. But in terms of the actual side, I have to lean to Golden State. I know that everyone will be backing Toronto because of the injury risk with Klay Thompson. But overall, I think Golden State proved that they just know how to handle difficult circumstances in Game 2. Came from behind, were able to pull it out. They looked pretty much dead at the half, and then they ended up outscoring Toronto 18-0 to start the second half, and they coasted to a win in the end. I think Golden State will find a way, especially in Oracle, where they tend to dominate. So I will lean to Golden State -4.5, and I will also lean to the under 214 in that one. We were right about the Dodgers again yesterday, as the Dodgers continue to roll. -160 today. I'm still leaning to the Dodgers. You have Duplantier versus Maeda. Maeda's been solid this season. The fact that money's coming on the Diamondbacks makes no sense to me, and the Dodgers continue to roll. They just swept the Phillies. They've won the first two against Arizona. Arizona simply can't hit right now. They've scored one run in the series so far, with Buehler and Ryu just pitching absolute gems. I expect Arizona's offense to struggle again, and I will lean to the Dodgers in that one, and I will also lean to the under 9.5. Moving on, you have the Pirates and the Braves with Musgrove and Gausman. I lean to the over in this game at 9.5. Both offensive look pretty solid. Atlanta with Riley in the lineup, who's come in about 2 weeks, have hit 9 home runs. Braves are cooking right now offensively. Pitching-wise, they've still struggled. Gausman's a little bit of a gas can at times, as his control issues can lead to a couple people on base. And the Pirates also did not have Josh Bell yesterday, who they gave the day off. He should be back, well-rested. I think he'll play well. I'm leaning to the over 9.5 there. Moving on, Yankees and Blue Jays. Yankees ended up losing. Great performance by Richard and Tanaka. If you ended up seeing that Angel Hernandez right down the middle pitch that was called the ball, pretty funny. I'd recommend looking that up, as the next pitch Grichuk ended up going yard. But either or, in terms of this game, Paxton's on the mound against his former team. Should pitch well, looking to get revenge against the team that, overall, especially considering the fact that Paxton's Canadian. So I definitely think that he will take it pretty seriously, and he should have a decent showing in terms of fan support, based on the fact that he's probably the best Canadian pitcher in the league right now. But Thornton's been inconsistent. I'm going to lean to the under 8.5 there. I think Paxton's going to pitch well, and the Yankees lineup didn't look great yesterday, so I'm going to lean to the under 8.5 there. Moving on, you have the Rays and the Tigers. Tigers picked up a shocking upset yesterday, plus 200 money. Miguel Cabrera, even though he's still crawling around the bases, did hit a grand slam, so he was able to take his time around in the bases on that one plate appearance. Turnbull versus Morton. Turnbull stinks. I'm still going to take the Rays here. I know that they're a minus 190, but Morton's been great. Turnbull's been awful the last month or so I will lean to the Rays there. Moving on, Giants and Mets. We actually had a lean on the Giants yesterday and the over, and that ended up scoring 12 runs. You ended up having 6 runs in the 10th inning, but you're looking at a guaranteed push as ended up going to extras at 3-3. So Giants ended up winning. I'm still linked to the Giants here. Beatty has not been good, but Vargas hasn't been good either. And the Giants lineup's actually woken up. I know that their team itself isn't that good, but the Mets looked awful yesterday, particularly in that 10th inning. And the Giants, the Orioles, it seems like any team that faces the Orioles automatically wakes up with their bats. And the Giants have actually played pretty well since an abysmal start to the season. So I think that the Giants still get the job done here, and I will lean to the Giants at plus price there at roughly plus 125. I'll lean to the Giants there. I definitely don't think the Mets should be a minus 140 with Vargas on the mound. So I think there's a lot of value with the Giants there. So I'll lean to the Giants there. Moving on, you have the Indians versus the Twins with, I believe, according to SBR odds, Tyler Clippard's going to be starting in an opener situation. Clippard is one of my least favorite pitchers in MLB history, and I know that the Indians got a win yesterday, but Perez has been very solid so far this season. There's no way that I can't look towards the Twins here in the over. So I will lean to the Twins in the over. I think the Twins will bounce back nicely. Bieber is a very solid pitcher for the Indians. He pitched well yesterday, and I simply think that was kind of an anomaly, as the Twins are still the better team. Moving on, you have the Marlins and the Brewers. Fun game yesterday with the Marlins scoring 16 runs, including 11 runs in the 5th inning as they won 16-0. In this game, you have Alcantara versus Jimmy Nelson. Jimmy Nelson, good story, was 12-6 in 2017, ended up needing rotator cuff surgery, has not pitched in the majors since, so it's been about 2 years, but good for him for bouncing back. The Brewers are currently a minus 250. There's no way I'm going to take that because I don't know what to expect from Nelson, his first start in roughly 2 years in the majors, but at the same point, I lean to the over 9. Alcantara hasn't been good, but the Marlins lineup has heated up lately, and the Brewers got shut out yesterday. I think they'll try to come back and try to avenge the embarrassment of what happened yesterday. So I'll lean to the over 9 on that one. Moving on, you have the Rangers and the Orioles with Minor versus Means. A lot of money's come in on Texas. I should say a decent amount of money has come in on the Orioles, I should say, as the Rangers open up a minus 180 down to roughly minus 165. And the total's been bet down from 9.5 to 9. I know that Means and Minor have been pretty solid this year, but there's no way that I'm not going to look to the over in this one, especially after yesterday. Minor's been pretty good. Means has been pretty good. Both these lineups just scored double-digit runs the day before, and both these teams have awful bullpens. I lean to the over there. And in terms of sides, I don't have a thought. I think this game could be a toss-up, so for that case, I'll lean to the Orioles. But that involves you actually backing the Orioles for once in your life, and I do not recommend that for anybody. So for me, I'll lean to the over 9 on that one. Moving on, you have the Cubs versus the Rockies with Marquez versus Darvish. Total's been bet down from 8 to 7, and money has actually come in on the Rockies as the Cubs are down to roughly a minus 115 favorite. I have to lean to the over there. I know that the wind's blowing in Wrigley, which is why the total's been bet down, but I simply just don't trust Darvish. Every time I think he's turned it around, he struggles, and every time I think that he struggles, he turns it around. So Darvish has been very tricky to predict, but at the same point, I think 7's too low of a total, especially with the way that Darvish has had control issues with walking people, and the Rockies still have a fully capable lineup. Marquez is a solid pitcher, but the Cubs' offense did pretty well yesterday, so I'm going to lean to the over 7. I think worst case is you look at a 4-3 push, and both the teams' bullpens have not been that great either, so I'll lean to the over on that one. Moving on, you have the Reds and the Cardinals with Hudson versus DeSclafani. I lean to the Reds' money line here at roughly plus 130. I think that Hudson isn't good enough to be a minus 145 favorite, give or take. I know that he's been solid at home, but DeSclafani's actually been decent, and I like the way the Reds have been playing lately, so I'll personally lean to the Reds on the plus price there. Moving on, you have the Red Sox and the Royals. I recommended yesterday on the Red Sox minus 1.5, as well as the Red Sox minus 2.5, and they ended up winning by 5 runs. So I'm going to lean to the Red Sox again, but at minus 240, there's definitely not enough value there. especially with the way that Sale's been pitching. I believe he's 1-6. Not a great season. I will lean to the Red Sox team total over, though, with Junis on the mound for the Royals and the Red Sox on the road getting 9 at-bats guaranteed. So, for me, I'm going to lean to the Red Sox team total over there and the first 5 team total over, as the Red Sox offense has looked pretty solid the last 2 games, and I think they will keep it going in this one. Moving on, you have the Angels versus the A's. Not many books have this up right now, but Bookmaker currently has the Angels at a -131 favorite. Recommended the A's yesterday, as Montes has looked pretty solid this season. Even though both pitchers in this matchup, Mengden and Bedrosian, have not looked good this season, I still lean to the A's. I think that the Angels are a very streaky team. They've kind of been slumping, but overall, I'm going to lean to the A's there. I think they're the better team. And the last game is the Astros and the Mariners with Peacock versus Leak. I've mentioned this before, and I mentioned it throughout the entire series. I don't care who's playing for the Astros. They're a better team. Seattle's completely imploded, and I recommended that yesterday with Miley on the mound, and the Astros picked up another win. At -155 here, I don't know how you don't take the Astros. Seattle's been playing some of the worst baseball I've seen of any team in the league at this point in time, and the Astros are still rolling, so I'll lean to the Astros there. Question from Jim here. The line on the game moved up half a run. I was looking at betting the under with Arrieta pitching. In terms of that, Jim, the over could be due to, 1, the fact that they don't trust Quantrill's in this matchup, and B, the fact that the wind is blowing slightly out to right field, which could impact the game because of the fact of how many lefties the Padres decided to put into their lineup to combat Arrieta, so keep that in mind. But overall, in terms of that game, if you are only thinking about Arrieta pitching in terms of the under, I'd look towards the team total under on the Padres instead of the full game. I think that the over could, the moving up could do with the wind and could have to do with the fact that they like the Phillies lineup, even with McCutchen out, and the fact that Quantrill has struggled this season. But overall, if you really think Arrieta is going to pitch well against the Padres, then I wouldn't even take the full game under or the first 5 under. Just take the Padres team total under, or take the team total in the first half under for the Padres, because that way you only get to focus on one of the teams, and you clearly are only interested in Arrieta pitching, and I understand that. So if that's the case, I would personally lean to the Padres team total under instead of the full game under, as the Phillies could potentially destroy that by themselves. Those are my 2 cents on that. With that being said, before we conclude with today's video, no problem, Jim. Glad I could help out. With that being said, we'll quickly remind you of our sponsors at PointsBet, online sportsbook for New Jersey. Up to 2 risk-free bets of up to $1,000. Great promo they have. And they also have a deal for the NBA Finals game tonight, which is that the team you bet on is up after 3 quarters. You take them on a money line bet, and they're winning after 3 quarters. You win. So you don't have to worry about sweating it out in the 4th. But quick reminder, play of the day will be on the Phillies at moneyline -110, available at Pinnacle. And that's supposed to start in roughly an hour. With that being said, good luck to all of you and your respective plays today. Bye, everyone.